How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf 5 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends, friends, how's BavaMetzia going? The big leagues, right? The big leagues. The big leagues, Chaver. Today's Daf is today's Daf. What do you want me to tell you? I think we're going to do like a daf and a half today. Oh my god, I don't even know how much time I have or how long it's going to take. I should have enough time. I don't know how long it's going to take though. It's great stuff, Chaver. What do you want me to tell you? BavaMetzia is great. Though it's hard. But it's great. The big leagues. Yeah, we talk about, I think, I don't remember what it talks about, but I think it talks about, what was that thing that we were talking about? Halach. I think it talks about that a little bit. And then, what does it talk about? Some stuff. And it talks about, what was the other migo. Migo de choshed, hashvua choshed. Migo de choshed, amamona choshed, nam yashvua, so, that's a good sugya. It's a good sugya. Let's go weiter. Okay. We're going to start in Daf Daladam Beis, about 15 lines from the bottom. Should I roll up my sleeves? I really don't feel like it. Should I do it? Alright, 1 second. Alright, here we go. Okay, right, so about 15 lines from the bottom, Daladam Beis. Most of Mar Zutre Bre Deriv Nachmin. Okay, so Mazut Rav Nachman asks, Tanu Kalim Vikar Kois. Okay, fine. So if Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me vessels and you owe me property. Hoda Bekalim Vikafer Vikar Kois. Reuven says, yeah, it's true. I owe you vessels, but I don't owe you property. Hoda Vikar Kois Vikafer Bekalim. Or Fakir, he says, yes, I owe you property, but I don't owe you vessels. Potter. In either case, he is potter. I think it's because if I understand correctly, I think like a lot of things these days, like if I understand correctly, which I may not, but if I understand correctly, it's like, because be'etzim, I think like okay, the vessels are things that are shaykh to like modeh b'miktsas, right? Are shaykh to shvuah, right? Vessels are things that you could swear about, whereas property are things that you don't swear about. And therefore, the whole swearing thing with relation to the property is kind of like out of the picture because you don't swear on property. And in terms of the vessels, which would be something that you would swear about, well, either you're admitting that you owe the vessels, in which case there's nothing to swear about, or you're admitting that you owe no vessels, in which case also there's nothing to swear about because you're kofer hakol, right? So I think that's kind of the point, I think, right? So meaning, I'm going to read that again. So Shimon is saying to Reuven, hey, Reuven, you owe me vessels and property. Hoda bekalim. So if he's saying, yeah, it's true, I owe you vessels. Okay, so he owes the vessels. He's saying he owes the vessels. There's nothing to swear about. If he denies the property, well, you don't swear about property anyways. Hoda bekakos. If he admits that he owes the property, so okay, he's admitting that he owes the property. If he denies the vessels, well, he's kofer hakol. If you deny everything, you don't swear. I think that's pshat. Potter. So therefore, there's no swearing in that scenario. Hode miktsas karkos, Potter. If he says, I don't owe you any vessels, okay, so he's kofer hakol on the vessels, so he doesn't swear. And in terms of the property, he says, I owe you some property. Okay, so he's modeh b'miktsas essentially on the property, but you don't swear about property anyways, so Potter. Miktsas kelim chayv. However, if he says, I don't owe you any property. In terms of the vessels, I owe you some vessels. So he's modeh b'miktsas and on the vessels, so then he's going to be chayiv shvuah on account of the vessels. Okay. And as we're going to see, actually in a few minutes, like we learned in Masechta Kiddushin, there's a Gilgul shvuah, that now once already he's swearing about the vessels, because he's modeh b'miktsas on the vessels, well then we'll be megalgal shvuah, and he'll also swear that he in fact does not owe any property either. We learned that in a Mishnah in Masechta Kiddushin, where we said that nechasim she'ein lohem achrayis niknosim im niknin im nechasim she'yesh lohem achrayis bekesef uv'shtar uv'chazoko. Right, and then we said that just like metaltalin is niknin by way of karka. So also, if you swear for metaltalin, you would then megalgalin shvua for karka. Anyways, fine. Fine. Mixas kelim chayiv. Time of the kelim v'karkuis. Okay, so we're saying the reason why, if he admits to the property but denies the vessels, or admits to the vessels but denies the property, he's potter, is because you have karka and you have kelim. Time of the kelim v'karkuis. The karka lav bas shvuahi, because as we said, property is not something that you swear about. Kelim v'kelim. Dumi the kelim v'karkuis. But if you would have two groups of vessels, right? Just like we're talking about vessels and property. So if you have vessels and vessels, okay, so Shmuel says, hey, Reuven, you owe me vessels and vessels. And he says, what do you mean? Well, no, so he says, well, I agree that I admit that I owe you vessels, but I don't owe you vessels. Or if he says, I don't owe you vessels, but I admit that I owe you vessels. I know I was just being unnecessarily annoying, but the point is, if he admits to one group but denies the other, he's going to be chayiv, because since vessels are things that you would be chayiv a shvua for, so be'etzim you're being modeh b'miktsas. Now, chaver, this is where it becomes relevant to our story. Okay, so where am I? So v'karkos the karka lav shvuhi hakelim v'kelim dumi dekelim v'karkos chayiv. Hey chidami, what would be the scenario? Lav to omerle heilach v'shmamino heilach chayiv. There you go. That's the tie-in. It's a kasha on Rav Sheshis. Rav Sheshis, of course, had said heilach is potter, because we want to say that he has, two groups of vessels. Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me vessels, these vessels and those vessels. And Reuven says, I admit I owe you these vessels, and here they are yours. So he's saying heilach, which means he's be'etzim, so we consider it like the vessels that he's admitting, that Reuven's admitting to, are in Shimon's rishos. And he's then denying the remaining vessels, and we're saying that he's chayev a shvua. So it sounds like heilach is chayev, which would be like Rav Mechia, it would be unlike Rav Sheshis. Lo nisht. The olam emelach kelim v'kelim nami potter. No, I will tell you that by kelim and kelim you are also potter, because heilach is potter. V'hodikatoni kelim v'karkuis. Then why are we dafka talking about vessels and property, implying that vessels and vessels you would be chayiv, and that heilach is chayiv? No. The reason why we're mentioning kelim v'karkois, Hakamashmalan is teaching us hoda miktsas kelim chayiv af ala karkois, that when he so when Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me vessels and property, and he says, I don't owe you any property, and in terms of the vessels, I owe you some vessels. So we say that he's chayiv shvua. When he's chayiv shvua for the vessels, he's also then going to be chayiv shvua for the property. That is why we mentioned vessels and property, in order to teach us about the Gilgal shvua, that once he's swearing for the vessels, he's also going to swear for the property. That is why we mentioned vessels and property. But vessels and vessels, also you would be, in terms of vessels and vessels though, you would be potter, right? Meaning, so when we say that vessels and property, if you deny all the vessels or all the property, so then you're going to be potter. The same would be for vessels and vessels, you'd be potter, because heilach is potter. My kamash malon. Zokakin, but 1 second, fact the Gemara, 1 second. So you're saying the reason why we mention vessels and property is for the scenario where he denies some of the vessels, and that he has to swear in the vessels, and then he also swears for the property, so a Gilgal Shvua. But Tanina, we already learned in Masechta Kiddushin. I was going to ask, about Masechta Kiddushin, Masechta BavaMetzia, how do they compare? Well, it's not a shaykh question. They're both amazing. But they're different, but they're both amazing. So we don't have to compare. But there's something special about Bava Kama and BavaMetzia. I don't know. They're really hard, but they're really good. So what do you want me to tell you? So we already learned in the mission in Bava in Kiddushin, Zokakin hanachosim shein loim achrayis as hanachosim sheish loim achrayis lishava alein. That we already learned in Masechta Kiddushin that when you swear for metaltlin you oichet, then do a gilgul shvua for karke. Hocha ikr hosam agav grore nazpa. So the Gemara answers, look, BavaMetzia is the main source of it. We're talking about shvuas and halach. This is the main sugya where we're learning the gilgul shvua, that if you have to swear because of the moda b'miktsas by the kalim, so then oichet is a gilgul shvua and the karke. This is the main sugya. The only reason why we mentioned it in kiddushin is because because in kiddushin it's the main sugya of the kinyon, right? The kinyon, right? That nechosim she'ein lehem achrayis, nechosim niknin nechosim she'esh lehem achrayis because of shtar v'chazaka. That's the main sugya for that. And once already we mentioned the context of. Once already we're mentioning in metaltlin and karka in terms of kinyan, so we also mentioned, and when you swear for metaltlin, so you oichet megalgal in a shvua for karka. But that was just sort of that wasn't the main event over there. It was kind of a supplemental thing. Whereas over here, this is the main sugya of gilgul shvua for kalim and karke, because here was the main sugya of moda b'miktsas atani yeshava, and all that great stuff. Okay. Ulamanda Amar Heilach Potter Amayitz Tichkro Lemute Karke Mishvue Hako Karke Heilachu Pam 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 Okay, so Ulamanda Amar Heilach Potter. So Rav Sheshes, who says that Heilach is Potter. Wow, we're 12 minutes into the daf, and I feel like this has been happening a lot. Like we're only getting up to the daf after like significant work. Okay, these pages are funny. It's like some pages are bigger, some pages are smaller. Let's go weiter. Ulamanda Amar Heilach Potter. So we're going to Rav Sheshes, who says that Heilach is Potter. Okay, that if he says Heilach, then he doesn't swear for the remainder. So why do I need a pasuk to teach me that you don't swear when it comes to property? Hakol karke heilach, any karke that if he admits to some property, he's betzim saying, yes, I admit it, and it's yours. So, and if we say the heilach is potter, so memele, there's always, whenever you admit to karka, it's going to be heilach, so you're not going to have to swear. So then, why do I need a pasuk? I just memele know that you're always going to be potter from shvuah. Shtickle hack, because you're making assumptions about heilach. So Amalach, it's tichkra. No, you still need a pasuk because there are going to be scenarios where heilach doesn't apply. For example, for example, if he dug into the property, pits, ditches, and vaults, so then he wouldn't say, here, take it back. I mean, he messed it up. Inami, or I guess maybe he's kona b'shinu, I don't know, whatever it is, he's not giving back the property. He's gonna have to, I guess, pay for it. Inami, alternatively, alternatively, where Shimon says, Reuven, you owe me vessels and property, and Reuven admits to the vessels, and he denies the property, so over there also, there's no situation of heilach on the carcass. So there are going to be scenarios where we would have to know that in any event, you're potter for shvuah by karkuas. Tashmakum in here. The Tani Rami Bar Chome taught. Aba Shomrin Srichin Kfira b'miktzas Voda b'miktzas Bam param. This was a sugya from BavaKama. Although over there, I think we quoted Rabbi Chia bar Abba and Rabbi Yochanan. We saw machlokas in BavaKama about moda b'miktzas. Is moda b'miktzas with regard to shomrin, a pikadon, which is where it's written in the Torah in the context of shomrin, or do we say eru parshes, that there's this pasuk that's of moda b'miktzas that's written by shomrim, really it belongs by imkesef talved asami, by halvos. That was Reb Chia Bar Yosef's opinion, I think. Anyways, so we're assuming here that Moda b'Miktsas is in the context of Pikodin, of Shomer. So Tashma the Tani Ram Bar Chama taught I bought Shomer Tzrichin Kfira b'Miktsas Voda b'Miktsas, that by the 4 Shomer, so to be Chayav Shvua, so there must be Moda b'Miktsas, right? I bought Shomer Tzrichin Kfira b'Miktsas Voda b'Miktsas. Shomer Chinam v'Hashoyel. Okay, an unpaid custodian, a borrower, nosei socher, a paid custodian, v'asocher, and a renter. Echidami, what's pshat? Lav da'omerle, is it not talking about a situation? Da'omerle heilach, is it not talking about a situation where he's saying, here, take it, and we're still saying that he's chayiv ashvo, so heilach is chayiv shvo? Lo. No, da'omerle, it's talking about a scenario of not heilach. That Shimon says to Reuven, Gimel Paris Masarti Lecha, I gave you 3 cows, Vamesu Kul B'Pshir, and all of them died in a negligent manner, therefore you are chayiv to pay me for all 3. Vamer Ihu, and Reuven says to Shimon, Chada, the first cow, Lo Hayu Dvar Me'olim. I think this is true. With regard to the first cow, you never gave me that one. V'chada, and in terms of the second one, Mesa Ba'onis, it died in onus, and therefore I am potter from that one. V'chada, and in terms of the third cow, Mesa B'Pshir D'Beina Shalom Ilach. He says, yeah, that one, I admit, it died in a negligent manner, I have to pay for that one, but not for any of the others. Dilav Heilachu, there's no Heilach, there's no here, take it, and he's going to be chayiv a shvuah because of Moda b'Miktsas. Tashma Kominir, the Tani Avua, the Reb Apturiki, that the father of Reb Apturiki taught. I'm sorry. I guess. I don't know. This is kind of funny. How do you read this? Tashma the Tani Avua de Reb Apturiki. Yeah, I think you could read it like that. Tashma the Tani Avua de Reb Apturiki, that the father of Reb Apturiki taught. The Reb Chia Kamaisa, according to the first Reb Chia. Who can tell me what the first Reb Chia is? The first Reb Chia is the first Reb Chia. We saw 2 opinions of Reb Chia. The first one, we're actually about to explain it, I think. But the first one was where Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100. Reuven says, no, I don't owe you anything. Witnesses then come and say that Reuven owes $50. That was the first Reb Chia. And Reb Chia says that Reuven needs to swear, meaning he has to pay the $50 because witnesses says he owes it. Then he has to swear with regard to the remaining $50 that he does not owe it. Okay. So the Reb Chia Kamaisa, which is Monali Biyodcha, that Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100. V'ala Omer Ein L'cha Biyodi Klum. Reuven says, I don't owe you anything. V'a'idim e'idim also sheish biyadu 50 zuz. And witnesses come and say, in fact, Reuven owes 50 zuz to Shimon, and therefore he has to pay the 50 zuz. The question is, what about with the remaining 50 zuz? Yochel Yishava al Ashar. Is it possible that Reuven will have to pay, will have to swear about the remainder? Right, so this, right. So Reb Apturiki is bringing this brisa as a kasha on Reb Chia, because Reb Chia had said that in this scenario, Reuven does have to swear about the remaining 50, but this brisa is saying, Yochel Yishav al Ashar, is it possible that Reuven would have to swear about the remaining 50? Tamlomar, al kol avedo asher yomar kihu zeh. That on any lost object that he will say, kihu zeh. That meaning in the context of Modeh b'Miktsas, needs, right, al hodas piv atamachayvu v'atamachayvu al hodas edim. That he swears when we're talking about his own admittance, but not when witnesses come and say, that you owe the 50. Meaning, if Shimon would say to Reuven, you owe me $100, and Reuven says, no, I owe you $50, so that's Reuven's own admittance, and he would swear. But when Reuven says, I don't owe you anything, and the witnesses come and say that Reuven owes $50, so then there's no shvuah, because it's based on what he says, not based on what witnesses would say about him. So therefore it's a kasha on Reb Chia, because Reb Chia would say that Reuven would swear, but here we have a brisa that says that he would not swear. Chevre, listen to what the Gemara answers. Masnisa karomis ole de Reb Chia. Are you asking a kasha on Reb Chia from a brisa? Reb Chia taneu ufalig. Reb Chia is a Tane, and he argues on that brisa, and he can, because he's a Tane. Ha ha. Ha ha. Gewaldig. 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 Gewaldig, gewaldig, gewaldig. It's gewaldig because I once worked for these two Chassidish guys, and they also learned the daf. And it was a shaila. One of them had a shaila: is Reb Chia considered a Tana, or is it considered a Mora? So I have to send this to him. Now, I mean, here he figured that he's a Tana, but this is, when I saw it, I was like, I remember that. So I gotta send it to him. I don't even know if he still has WhatsApp or if I have his number, but I'll give it a shot. Fine. So Karamas Ali Reb Chia Tana Ufalig. Reb Chia is a Tana. Now, of course, we say Rav Tana Ufalig. We say about Rav that Rav is a Tana and he can argue on a brisa. Reb Chia was Rav's uncle. So if you're going to memele, if Rav Tana Ufalig, it makes sense to say Reb Chia Tana Ufalig. Reb Chia was a student of Rebbe. So was Rav. But then, okay, say it. Fine. How could we say that Reb Chia argues on the brisa? The brisa isn't just a brisa. We're bringing a pasuk of kiyuzeh. How could Reb Chia argue on a pasuk? Ahu lemod mixas atayne. Well, Reb Chia would just say that pasuk teaches mode b'miktsas. Doesn't teach us that he has to dafka say it and not witnesses. V'avod Rab Abturiki amalach. Avod Abturiki will respond. Ksiv hu uksiv zeh. It says both hu and zeh. V'chad. I guess maybe the point is that both hu and zeh are like limiting words, right? Him and not somebody else. Zeh, this, and not something else. So chad lemode miktsas atayne. So one is to teach us that davka mode miktsas atayne, a partial admittance. V'chad hadas edim, and the other one is to say the potter that if witnesses come and testify, he would be potter from a shvua. Davka, he needs to admit it. V'idach, and Reb Chia would argue, chad lemode miktsas atayne. One is to teach mode miktsas, v'chad lemode mimin hatayne. And the other one is to say that davka needs, that the admittance needs to be in the same category as the claim. Let's go weiter for a second. V'idach mode mimin hatayne leis le. Whereas Avod Abturiki, the Reb Abturiki says that you don't need the admittance to be from the same category as the claim. Disoverlo Gamliel, because Avod Abturiki holds like what Reb Gamliel, the Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah, Tano Chitin, V'hodelo Besorin Potter, that if Shimon says, Ruvain, you owe me wheat, and Ruvain, so Shimon says to Ruvain, you owe me 100 bundles of wheat, and Ruvain says, no, I owe you 50 bundles of barley. He would be potter, right? Because it's a different, right? You have wheat and barley. Rabbi Gamliel says that no, it doesn't matter. You would still be chayiv. So Rabbi Chia would say that you'd be potter there, whereas Rabbi Abturiki would say that you would be chayiv there. All right, very, very interesting stuff. So there was a shepherd that every day they would give him sheep. Well, not sheep, animals. Well, I imagine sheep because he's a shepherd. That would make sense, I think. Sheep. Let's say. I guess maybe it could be goats. Can we say sheep? Let's say sheep. There was a shepherd that every day they would give him sheep. Let's say 4 sheep. I want to say 4 sheep. I think it'll just be a nice number in a minute. So every day they would give him 4 sheep, and they would always give it to him with witnesses, so that there can't be any foul play, any denials, any nothing. There's always witnesses to make sure that everything's accounted for. One day though, they gave him the 4 sheep, and there were no witnesses. And sure enough, the shepherd took advantage of the situation, of the lack of witnesses, and says, you didn't give me any sheep. Now came witnesses and testified, well, I could tell you this. The shepherd ate 2 of these animals. So meaning, you have a Reb Chia case over here, right? That the people are claiming that they gave him 4 sheep. I'm making up the number 4. But they're claiming that they gave him 4 sheep. He's claiming that they didn't give him anything. Witnesses are coming and saying that they gave him 2 sheep. So Reb Chia, right, this is basically the same case as Shimon saying to Reuven, you owe me $100. Reuven says, I don't owe you anything. And witnesses say you owe 50. So Reb Zera says that, well, if we hold like the first Reb Chia, who would say that Reuven would have to swear about the remaining 50, so then the shepherd should have to swear about the remaining 2 sheep. Abaye says, what do you mean that if we hold of like Reb Chia, you'd have to swear? But he's a thief. Witnesses came and said that he denied having any of these sheep. Witnesses came and said that he ate 2 of them. He's a thief. He's a liar. He's a thief. What do you mean he swears that about the remaining ones? We can't trust him. He's a liar. So Hashtanami, where am I? So Reb Zera says, well, I'm not talking about him swearing, because that's true. We can't trust him. He's a thief. We're talking about the people would swear, and then, right, Nishboin v'notlin, they would swear that they are telling the truth, and that they gave him 4 sheep, and then they would take, then they would be able to collect. Well, he would already be on the hook for 2 of them, because witnesses came and said that he owes them 2, and then they would say, and we gave 4, and he would be on the hook for the remaining 2 as well. Hashtanami, okay, where am I? Hashtanami delays to Reb Chia and Chayvim midu Rav Nachman. So says the Gemara, even forget about Reb Chia, the shepherd should be chayiv a shvuah, or at least the other people would be chayiv, would swear and take it, because of Rav Nachman. Tisam we learn in the Mishnah, monoli biyodcha, eincha biyodi potter. That of course by kofar akol, if Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100, Reuven says I don't owe you anything. So Reuven does not swear, it's kofar akol. By kofar akol you don't swear, only by BavaMetzia you swear. Rav Nachman says, even though midu oraise, Reuven does not swear if he's kofar akol, but midu rabbanan, we have him swear that he's telling the truth. So even forget about Reb Chia. The shepherd would still be chayiv to swear anyways, because he's denying, even by kofar akol, there's a shvuas hesis. So even without Reb Chia, there should be a shvuah. So the Rav Nachman takantahi, v'takanta lo avdinan. The thing is, already the shepherd is not swearing because he's a thief, right? Meaning the other people are going to have to swear for him. Right? The other people are going to swear that they're telling the truth, and then, they would be believed in their claim. So now, midoraise, it would be the shepherd that would be claiming, right? Right. In general, when you swear, it's the party who currently has the money and is being asked to pay for it, that they swear, and then they don't have to pay. Now, it's midorabanan that we're saying, but if we can't trust the defendant, well then we'll have the claimant swear that they're telling the truth, and then they'll take it. So when in those scenarios of Nishboin v'notlin, when the claimant ends up swearing and taking, that is already a midorabanan construct, and we're saying already here that's going to be the scenario, that the shepherd is not going to be the one to swear, it's going to be the people that are going to be the one to swear, which is already a midorabanan thing. And then to say that there would be a shvuas hesis, that even, right, that meaning when the shepherd is denying having received anything, so midoraisa he would be potter from a shvuah. It's only midorabanan that there's going to be a shvuah here. So to say that this midorabanan shvuah, the shvuas hesis, when he denies everything, would be sworn by the people, since we can't trust the shepherd, which is already midrabanan. So a double derabanan of the other people swearing in a situation of a shvuas hesis is not something that we are going to do. So therefore, he would swear on account of the fact that that would be modeh b'miktsas like Reb Chia. Why are we considering him to be a thief? Because these witnesses came and said that he stole 2 of them. Even if no witnesses came, he's considered a thief because he's a shepherd. The Omer of Yehuda stam roeh pasul. The Rav Yehuda says that by default a shepherd is considered pasul because he's a thief. Because the shepherd allows his sheep to graze in other people's fields. Lokash, it's no problem. Hodidei, hode alma. So it depends. If it's his sheep or if it's the people's sheep. If it's his sheep, yeah, he'll let them graze in other people's fields and he would be in other people's property and he would be considered a thief. But if he's responsible for other people's sheep, well then he won't allow those sheep to, the other people's sheep to graze in other people's fields, to steal property. Because if you don't say like this, that when he's responsible for other people's sheep, he follows the rules. Well, if that's the case, then how would we be able to give our sheep to these shepherds? Meaning, if it's assumed that shepherds always graze in other people's fields, and that's a problem, then how can we be giving our sheep to these shepherds? It's lifnei velocity michshol. Don't put a stumbling block for a blind person. Don't give your sheep to a shepherd if it's going to lead him to steal. So rather, we have a chazaka that a person will not sin when he's dealing with when he's responsible for other people's things. He's not going to, allow the sheep to graze in other people's property when they're not his sheep, when he's responsible for other people's sheep. Then he's going to follow the rules and he's not going to sin with other people's sheep. And therefore, we don't assume that there's an issue in that he's inherently a thief. He's a thief because witnesses came and said that he took these sheep that he claimed to have never received. Okay, so now we're going to get into the concept of migo de chashid amamona chashid nami ashvuasa, or we're going to kind of explore that concept of, kind of like we saw just now, that if we can't trust the shepherd because he's a thief, so we also can't trust him to swear. So here we go. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. It's a little bit confusing. There's like a bunch of negatives over here. That each one swears that he does not have less than half. Shnaikis. Did you hear that? Meaning each one swears that he does not have less than half. I guess implying that what does he have? He has more than half. At least more than half. Okay. So al de isle mishtaba, al de leisle mishtaba. So what exactly is he swearing about? Is he swearing that I have 50% of it? Right? Meaning there's Shnaim Oichzim Metalis. You have these 2 guys, Reuven and Shimon, and they're vying for this talis. Okay? They're jumping on it. And each one is saying it's theirs. Ultimately, we're saying that, well, they can't both have all of it, so each one swears that they have no less than 50% of it. So now, the question is each one swearing that they own 50% of it, or is it that they don't own less than 50% of it? Okay. Are they swearing that they own 50% of it? No, or are they swearing that they don't have less than 50%? Amr Funa says, Funa to Amr, Shvue sheyeshli ba. Okay, so says Funa, what the swear is that Shvue sheyeshli ba. First of all, he swears that I have some part of it. Ve'ein li ba pachos mechetze, and I don't have less than half of it. Meaning, if you would only say I don't have less than half of it. Wow. So less than half would be anywhere between 0.1% and 49.9%. So theoretically, even if he has no claim to the garment, right? Imagine Reuven has no claim to the talis at all. and he swears, I do not own less than half of it, well, he's technically telling the truth. If he says, I do not own less than half of it, he doesn't own less than half of it. He doesn't own any of it. So therefore, he needs to swear both that he actually owns part of it and that he doesn't own less than half of it. So meaning he owns part of it and what he owns is at least half of it. Okay? So, so firstly, I do in fact own part of it. He swears that he owns part of it. And I don't own pachos mechetzia, less than half of it, i.e., I own at least half of it. Why doesn't he just swear that all of it belongs to him? Yeah, but we're not going to give him all of it, because just like Reuven's claiming that he owns all of it, Shimon's also claiming that he owns all of it. So okay, so why not swear that half of it's mine? Right? If ultimately each one's going to get half, let Reuven swear that half of it is his. Let Shimon swear that half of it is his. Morale l'dibure. Yeah, but he had initially said that it's all mine. Right? Reuven had initially said it's all mine. Shimon initially said it's all mine, and now he's going to swear that half of it is his. He said it's all his. Hashtanami morale l'dibure. But look, at the end of the day, even if you say that I own part of it and I don't own less than half of it, he's still not, still a far cry from what he initially started at, which is it's all mine. Now he's saying, well, I don't own less than half of it. Well, that's a big gap. Well, to Amr Kulashli, look, this is what he's saying. He's saying, look, I haven't changed my position, which is, it's all mine. And according to you, that you're saying, well, I can't have all of it. Well, look, I'll tell you this much. I have a claim of ownership to it. And I'll say this, I do not own less than half of it. So, yeah, what he would like to claim is that it's all his. He can't make that claim and get all of it. So what he says, look, I'm not going to say that half of it's mine, because all of it's mine. I'll say that all of it is mine. Well, I'll say, look, I have a claim and at least half of it is mine. Meaning, well, no less than half of it is mine. Really, all of it is mine, but at the very least, no less than half of it. Now, why do they need to swear? When you got Reuven grabbing half of it, Shimon grabbing half of it, we're giving them half. So just give them each half. Why do they have to swear? Clearly they're both they both have a claim to it. So we're dividing it in half. Okay, each one is gonna get half of it. Why do they have to swear? And Rabbi Yechon says, this shvuah is a takono d'Rabbanan. Shelo yehei kol echad ve'echad holech v'tokef b'taliso shechaver v'omer shalihu. Well, it's a takonos chachamim, right? That we don't want a scenario where everybody's grabbing everybody else's stuff. Because why not? I'll go and I'll grab this stuff and then we'll just divide it. So therefore, by saying that you gotta swear, so then so the idea is that if we say that you have to swear, well then you're gonna take it more seriously, right? Meaning, instead of just saying, hey, what the heck, I may as well make this claim, we'll say, wait, 1 second. If you're trickily making this claim when it's not really true, you're going to have to swear about it. So therefore the hope is that would prevent people from making claims to things that aren't theirs. But but the question is that if the whole point of the shvuah is to sort of prevent untrustworthy people, well then why would you trust them on their swear, right? If the whole point is that, well, we're concerned that maybe Reuven is being dishonest and he's making a claim to a talis that doesn't actually belong to him, so therefore we're going to make him swear. Well, if Reuven's dishonest, he'll swear dishonestly. Lo amrinon migo dechasher amamona chasher hashvuaso. So the Gemara says, well, actually, it doesn't work like that. Actually, there's a difference. A swear is kind of kicking it up a notch. I think a swear is with the Sefer Torah and Shem Hashem, and it's a serious thing. So for Reuven to just say, hey, why not make a claim to the talus? Why not make a claim to the talus? Now, he's being dishonest, but alright, fine, whatever. I have nothing to lose. But once already you're going to say, hey, you're going to have to swear, that's a different ballgame. So therefore, even though he might be dishonest with regard to making a claim, he won't go so far as to swear about it. Because after all, if you don't say like this, that sort of, there's a certain seriousness to swearing that kind of puts it in a separate ballpark. Because after all, for example, Modeh b'Miktsas. What's Modeh b'Miktsas? Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100. Reuven says, I only owe you 50. We don't trust that Reuven's telling the truth. So therefore Reuven says, I only owe you 50. We don't trust that Reuven's telling the truth. So therefore, Reuven swears that he is in fact telling the truth. But if the whole point is that we don't trust Reuven, which is why he's swearing, well then why would we trust him to swear? Rather, the whole point is that there's a difference between making a claim and swearing about it. That while he might simply make the claim that he only owes 50, not 100, if you say, hey, you gotta swear about it, then he will not be willing to do that. To which Gemara says, that's actually not the case. Don't bring me Modeh b'Miktsas as a proof for the theory that swearing kicks it up another notch, and people are going to be unwilling to do that. And meaning, even if you have a person who's dishonest, he won't swear dishonestly. So Shigmar says, actually, in the case of Modeh b'Miktsas, the concern is not that Reuven is dishonest, an untrustworthy person. No, it's that Reuven is going to rationalize it himself. So it's not inherently that he is a untrustworthy person or a shmendrik, a shtunk. It's that in his mind he's actually not doing anything wrong. He's not doing anything bad. And the shvuah is just to kind of like say, hey, get your act together and make sure you're telling the truth. That when it comes to Modeh b'Miktsas, he's just trying to rationalize it like Rabbah has explained to us both in Bava Kama and BavaMetzia. That he says, look, I'm not looking to steal from Shimon. After all, he lent me money when I needed it. I'm just looking to buy some extra time. And therefore, in his mind, he's not actually doing something wrong. He's not deliberately being dishonest and untrustworthy. He's rationalizing it by saying, look, I want to pay back Shimon. I just also want to kind of buy some extra time. So he says, look, it was only 50, it wasn't 100. So he's not inherently an untrustworthy person. And therefore we swear to say, hey, don't play any games, swear that you really only owe 50. But he'll be unwilling to do that because he's inherently not an untrustworthy person. Oh my gosh, sorry for there's so many double negatives. But the point is, a person like that is not untrustworthy, i.e., he ultimately at the end of the day is trustworthy. And if you say swear about it, he'll say, wait, alright, I'll tell you the truth. I really do owe $100. Teda, and you should know, the Amr Rav Idi bar Oven, Amr Rav Chizda, HaKofer b'milveh kosher le'edus b'pikadon pasul le'edus. That says Rav Idi bar Oven, Amr Rav Chizda, that a person who denies a loan, that if Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100, Reuven says, I don't owe you anything. Witnesses come and say, no, Reuven does in fact owe Shimon $100. Even though Reuven is now a liar, right? But he could still be a kosher aid. How come? Because he could rationalize it. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, Shimon gave Reuven money with the assumption that Reuven was going to spend it and not have it, and he was going to then get it back and return it. And Reuven's rationalizing it and so when Reuven says, I don't have any of it, right, that you didn't lend me money, it's not that he's inherently a liar, it's that he's just trying to buy some extra time, and therefore he could still be kosher le'edus. Whereas by a pikadon, if Shimon gave some stuff to Reuven to watch, and then Reuven says that, I don't have it, well, that's a different story. Because why don't you have it? right? You weren't supposed to be doing anything with it. You're just supposed to be watching it. So in that case, if he says that he doesn't have it, and it turns out that he does, well then, he's going to be Pasul Eidus. So El Hadu Tani Rambam Bar Chama. What about that which Rambam Bar Chama taught? Arba Shomrin Tzrichin Kfir b'Miktsas V'Odah b'Miktsas. But what about the fact that Rambam Bar Chama says that by the 4 Shomrin, and the 4 Shomrin, of course, is a pikadon, that they're watching stuff, and Rambam Bar Chama says that if they're modeh b'Miktsas, so then they swear. That why don't we say that what do you mean that they swear? If we don't trust them, that when they say that, if they're modeh b'Miktsas, if we don't trust that they're telling the truth, why would we trust them to swear? So asamnami ishtamute kam ishtamit. Again, also they're not inherently bad people. They're rationalizing it. So v'mashkachna leganef v'tarfisnale ashomer socher who's chayiv for gneva v'aveda. He figures, oh gosh, they got lost. I want some more time to find the ganef. Hopefully, I'll find him and I'll return it. Alternatively, if it's a shomer chinam who's chayiv for pshia, he says, oh no, I was negligent. Let me go to the rushes down by the riverside and see if the cow is rolling there. And I'll bring it back. So there also, he's not inherently a bad person, an untrustworthy person. He's rationalizing it. And therefore, if we say, you're going to have to swear, he's going to say, wait, okay, fine, I don't want to swear about this. If that's the case, am I Pasul Eidus? Well, if that's the case, that even by a deposit, even by a pikadon, you can rationalize it. So then why are we saying that hakofar b'pikadon is Pasul Eidus? Why don't we say by hakofar b'pikadon also that he's rationalizing it? He's saying, oh no, it got lost, I'm going to go and try to find it. So kiyamin hakofar b'pikadon Pasul Eidus. Well, when we say that hakofar b'pikadon is Pasul Eidus, kigon de'asu saide v'asidu be. Well, it's that the witnesses came and they testified that Ishaita Isay the Pikadon Bebeise, that at the time that he said that he didn't, that he doesn't know what you're talking about, he had it in his house at the time. V'avayada, and he knew, Ella, where am I? He's becoming basic V'avayada, and he knew about it. Inami, alternatively, Da'avanoket le biyade, or he was holding it in his hand. Okay. Fine. El Hada Omer, Rafuna, that which Rafuna says, Mashbi'in also shvuah she'ena b'shuso. In the scenario where Shimon says to Reuven, hey Reuven, give me back my cow. Right? He was watching it, and Reuven says, look, it got stolen, right? I guess, or let's say I was or let's say, right, he says that he's a shomer chinam, he's potter for gneva v'aveda, he says it got stolen, but he says, look, I'm just going to pay you for it. So in that case, Rafuna says that Reuven needs to swear that he doesn't have it. And Reuven says it got stolen, I'm just going to pay you money. He has to swear that he didn't decide, hey, I want this, I'm just going to pay him and keep it. So why would we trust him to swear? That's actually interesting. The whole point of why Reuven would want to just pay Shimon was because he wanted to avoid swearing. So if he has to swear anyways that he's doesn't have it, then he may as well just swear that it got stolen. But anyways, so why don't we say that if we don't trust him, or if we're concerned that maybe he kept it for himself, then why shouldn't we be concerned that he's lying that he's swearing falsely? So Asamnami More, look, there also he is going to rationalize it. And he's going to say, look, at the end of the day, I'm paying him for it, so I'm justified. So again, it's not that he's inherently a bad person, it's that he's going to rationalize it. And therefore, when we make him swear, he's going to say, wait, I don't actually want to swear about this. But what about the fact that he is violating lo sachmod, right? Do not covet what your friend has. So how can we trust him, right? If the concern is that he is in violation of lo sachmod, so how can we trust his swear? Lo sachmod leinshe below demei mashmadu. When it says don't covet, that's talking about without paying. But here he's paying, and therefore it's not a violation of lo sachmod, and he is rationalizing it for himself. But if you make him swear, then he will tell the truth. So far, right? Rabbi Yochanan had said that we make by shnai mochsim betalos, we make them swear just so that people won't just grab onto things because they're we're going to make them swear that they're telling the truth. Now we asked, but if we're talking about inherently people that may be dishonest, then why would we trust them to swear? So initially we wanted to say that swearing is different. It's a different ball game. You might be sort of low-key dishonest and try to be an opportunist and take something that might not belong to you. But to swear is a whole different thing, and you won't do that. Most people won't be willing to do that. We tried to bring a bunch of proofs from scenarios where we make people swear, and we say, well, in those cases, those aren't actually proofs that swearing is next level, because that's that we could trust in those cases because they're actually just they're not actually bad people because they're going to rationalize it. But here we're going to give scenarios where there is no such rationale, and still we trust swearing, which means that swearing is inherently a different ballgame. So what about by the Shavuos Heses? Shimon says to Reuven, you owe me $100. Reuven says, I don't owe you anything. Midoraisa, Reuven is potter, he doesn't have to swear. Midorabbanan, we say a Shavuos Heses, he should swear anyways. But here we're talking about somebody who's inherently, we can't trust him, yet we're trusting him to swear. Vesu, and more so, Hadutani Reb Chia, when Reb Chia says, Shneim nishboin v'notlin, mi balabais, in the scenario where the employer had given money to a clerk to pay the employees, the clerk now says to the employer, pay me back for the money that I laid out. The employees claim that they never got it. They both swear, and then the employer has to pay both of them. Now, certainly, one of them is lying, either the clerk or the employees. Somebody's lying, and yet we're saying that they swear, and then they can take money. But shouldn't we say that that if they're going to be dishonest about the money, then they'll be dishonest about the swear? Vesu, and more so, Hada Amar Rav Sheshes, that was Rav Sheshes says, Shalosh Shavuos Mashbiyin also. We make a shomer who's claiming that it got stolen, make 3 swears. Shavuos Shelo Pashaiti Bo, he swears that he was not negligent. Shavuos Shelo Shalachti Bo Yad, he swears that he didn't use the animal in an unauthorized way. Shavuos She'ena Birshusi, and he swears that he doesn't have it. So we should say that if we're concerned that he, may be lying, well then we should be concerned that he's not, right, that he's lying in his swear as well. Rather, it is that we treat these two things separately. Even though they may be untrustworthy with regard to financial stuff, we do not assume that they would swear falsely. If they're swearing, we believe they swear. Abaye Omer says, Abaye, the reason why by Shnai Moichsim B'Talis they swear is because Chashin and Shema Milve Yishana Yeshlo Olav. Well, we're concerned that what's happening is Reuven sees that Shimon has this talis. Reuven says, wait, Shimon owes me money from a long, long time ago. Rather than me reminding Shimon about this money that he owes me and he's going to deny it, whatever, how about this? I see he's going for that talis. I'll also go for the talis. I'll get half of it and I'll get paid back that way. So if that's the case, why are we forcing him to swear? At the end of the day, he's owed the money. Well, rather, no, it's not that he's definitely owed money. He's not sure if Shimon owes him money from some old loan. Do we not say that, well, if he's going to take this talis out of suffix that maybe he's owed money, won't he also swear out of suffix? Rav Sheshes Breder Vidi, Parshe Inshe Misofik Shvua Velo, Parshe Misofik Mamona. That look, people stay away from suffix shvuas, but they don't necessarily stay away from suffix taking money. My time I'll come, moment isa b'chazar, shvu leisa b'chazar. Because look, at the end of the day, you can always give money back if need be, but a shvua you can't take back. So therefore, people are going to be careful there. Wow, Chevre, that was the hey of Masechta BavaMetzia. We continue talking about the concept of heilach, and then we started moving into this sugya of migo the choshed amamona choshed nami ashvuasa. That if we if we're suspicious of somebody when it comes to financial things, then we should be suspicious when it comes to swearing as well. But we say that actually when it comes to swearing, people would be, we assume that even though they might be a little bit dishonest when it comes to money, when it comes to swearing, that's a different ballgame. Peace out.